These winter storm watches extend from parts of South Dakota all the way down through sections of Nebraska. For example, Omaha is under winter storm watches. Des Moines is also included, as well as a significant portion of Iowa. In fact, the entire state of Iowa, except for a few counties in the southwestern part of the state, is affected by winter storm watches. We even have winter storm watches extending as far south as St. Louis. However, there appears to be a warm front generated by this low-pressure system. But let's not get lost in the minor details. Let's keep an eye on the overall situation. Around 8 or 9 a.m. Saturday morning, heavy snow will move into Milwaukee, Chicago, and Madison. Look down at St. Louis. It will be a tricky scenario. In St. Louis, for example, it may initially start as a wintry mix, but could quickly transition to heavy, wet snow. Anyone on the southern edge of this precipitation field may experience fluctuations in surface temperatures. But for those on the colder side, where conditions are just cold enough for snow, you could indeed see, as I like to say on social media, flakes the size of bowling balls. Not literally, but those fluffy variety of snowflakes could certainly emerge in this region. This will all take place early Saturday morning, around 6 or 7 a.m. As we keep moving onward, we will extend our forecast out as far as the North American model can predict, which goes to midday Saturday. For football enthusiasts facing snowy conditions, it will be rivalry weekend in this region of the country. I originally referred to it as Big 10, but I believe it's now Big 12. Regardless, you will have Ohio State going up against Michigan, along with many other matches. With a snowstorm advancing, you should definitely plan to stay in and enjoy some exciting snowy games. This is a noteworthy winter storm, making its way across the Midwest. Chicago appears to be experiencing all snow, and we will keep an eye on developments. It is important to monitor trends, as there seems to be a concentrated band of snow affecting Indianapolis, even if it appears green on some maps. This could begin with heavy, wet snow. As we circle back to where we just left off with the North American model, it is time to check the latest European model. Although not yet available, we are about to receive the newest data. Not much has changed since our last check. By the middle of the night on Saturday into Sunday, an all-out snowstorm will be in progress across areas such as Chicago, Milwaukee, Green Bay, Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, and Indianapolis, with heavy snow moving into Detroit. Here in Toledo, snow is still falling. Back into Des Moines, Minneapolis, Janesville, Madison, Eau Claire, La Crosse, and Peoria. There is a cutoff, and it appears to transition to rain in St. Louis. It's all rain for Kentucky, but I would keep an eye on northern Kentucky. Evansville also seems to be seeing all rain in this specific forecast, which extends all the way out to Sunday morning. Snow continues across nearly all of Michigan, as it falls on top of previous snow accumulations. The system is moving into the eastern United States, particularly the Northeast. As we look ahead to midday on Sunday, it seems we might encounter a wintry mix in the favored cold air damming regions of West Virginia and Virginia. This is due to cold air being trapped just east of the higher elevations of the Appalachian Mountains. This situation affects all the states highlighted in pink on the map, which may experience freezing rain. The areas marked in orange denote sleet, while blue indicates snow. We could start Sunday morning with a heavy wintry mix across Pennsylvania. How cold will it be in this area? I think the low pressure will sweep across the northeast, changing many places that begin as winter weather to rain. We will fine-tune the specifics for the northeast as we move ahead, and soon the system will be complete. The good news is that we have reliable forecasts from the National Weather Service for about 75% of the storm, at least for the regions it will cover. Let's begin with areas in Montana. I may not cover that region frequently, but I want to ensure you feel informed. This is the snow forecast between now and about 5 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. Then we will move on to North Dakota, where the snow expected in this area could range from 1 to 5 inches near Bismarck. We'll then move to South Dakota, where a lot more snow is expected, with Gettysburg forecasted for 4 to 6 inches. In Brookings, we anticipate 4 to 7 inches, while Sioux Falls is looking at 4 to 8 inches. That's several inches of snow in this area. Next, we head down into Nebraska, which is a tricky spot. In Omaha, anywhere from 3 to 8 inches of snow is anticipated, while Lincoln could see 1 to 6 inches. It could potentially be as little as 1 inch or as much as half a foot. Of course, totals will increase as you travel down Interstate 80 into Iowa. Definitely, eastern Nebraska might face a high-impact winter storm, but there are some uncertainties about mixing due to low pressure bringing in warmer air. It's likely to be very close. For southern Minnesota, the Minneapolis area could experience 1 to 5 inches of snow. However, further down the interstate in southern Minnesota, those yellow areas might see over half a foot of snow. A significant amount of snow is expected in the southern parts of the state, and the entire state of Iowa is also in line for substantial snow. Fort Dodge could receive 9 to 16 inches, while Des Moines is forecasted for 5 to 12 inches between now and 6 o'clock in the evening on Saturday. Almost the entire state of Iowa looks poised for at least 5 inches or more, except in the southwestern regions. In those southwestern areas, mixing issues will arise due to low pressure bringing a significant amount of warm air aloft, resulting in a rain or wintry mix. In Dubuque, we're anticipating 7 to 11 inches of snow, and Davenport could see 8 to 12 inches. Shifting to the Kansas City area and surrounding regions shows northern Missouri as a tricky spot, where several inches of snow could occur. The further north you travel on Interstate 35, the more snow you could expect. Kansas City itself is likely to receive no more than an inch at most, but all of this could change. Moving into the St. Louis area, this remains a particularly tricky location. Right now, we expect 2 to 4 inches, with the possibility of a wintry mix, including sleet and freezing rain. However, I'm not expecting much mixing with this storm today. It appears that there will be a cutoff between rain and snow, with a slight wintry mix possibly occurring in the transition zone. In Quincy, we expect 4 to 8 inches of snow. Just feel free to pause the screen if you need to take notes. St. Louis, being a highly populated area in this graphic, has the forecast range of 2 to 4 inches of snow. Moving further into Illinois, we have a lot of ground to cover, with Peoria now expected to receive 8 to 13 inches of snow. Bloomington is forecasted for 6 to 11, while Lincoln may see 5 to 9 inches. Much variation is likely in areas like Effingham, where it could range from 1 to 7 inches of snow. Now, let's take a closer look at the intersection of Wisconsin, Illinois, and Iowa. I like to get an up-close look with these graphics. The Quad Cities are expecting 8 to 14 inches, while Peoria may see 8 to 12 inches. Here's another graphic for you all. Cedar Rapids is projected for 9 to 6 inches, and then we elevate to the Eau Claire area, which includes Madison. For Madison, forecasts predict 11 to 18 inches of snow, while Eau Claire is anticipated to receive 3 to 8 inches, with La Crosse at 7 to 14 inches. That's quite a bit indeed. Milwaukee is projected for 4 to 9 inches of snow, though this only accounts for conditions through 6 o'clock on Saturday. I expect it will continue to snow. I don't believe this encompasses the entire storm as you venture further east. Janesville is forecasted for 7 to 11 inches, and Madison may see 6 to 10. Next, we move down to Chicago, which encompasses much of the storm. This forecast runs through 6 o'clock on Sunday. Chicago is currently projected for 8 inches of snow, which I tend to be cautious about stating precisely. Rockford might be looking at 10 inches, Pontiac 9 inches, and Bloomington is also expected to receive 10 inches of snow. This indeed looks like a significant snowstorm for your area. I must admit, I feel a twinge of envy. In a friendly way, of course. In northern Indiana, South Bend could see 11 to 17 inches. This is likely due to a mix of snowfall expected today and what lies ahead. In Logansport, we anticipate 4 to 10 inches, while Marion is predicted for 2 to 8 inches. Over in Fort Wayne, 4 to 9 inches may fall. For Benton Harbor and areas into Michigan, we could see anywhere from 12 to 18 inches of snow forecasted. Moving into the transition zone in Indiana, there's potential for half an inch of snow in Indianapolis, or as much as 6 inches. It's a puzzling area to forecast, presenting quite a challenge. I also want to alert everyone about Kentucky, as western and northern parts of the state may be wildcard zones. You could begin with light snow, only for it to transition into heavier snow as the storm progresses. We need to keep our eye on that. Now, let's step back to those in the nearby regions. Unfortunately, we're just outside the National Weather Service's coverage zone for northern Ohio and points east. I want to present the 24-hour forecast from the Euro Ensemble. You can see the storm is approaching, with a few inches of snowfall expected for northern Ohio and 4 to 5 inches forecast for Detroit. These amounts are what could accumulate over the next 24 hours. The interior northeast shows a main snowfall throughout this area. We need to determine the exact location of the low-pressure system as it moves towards this area from Sunday into Monday. This weather forecast is somewhat complex, and I wish to mention a signal for some icing, as I anticipate a little bit of ice accumulation at the beginning of this system as we enter late this weekend into early next week. A few tenths of an inch of ice could be expected, which may lead to the issuance of winter weather advisories or even winter storm warnings in certain areas. This pertains particularly to substantial wintry precipitation in the favoured regions of West Virginia, western Maryland, and continuing into the higher elevations of Pennsylvania and Virginia. Some icing could extend as far south as certain favoured areas in North Carolina. I must remind myself to pace my speech, as I feel like I'm rambling on, even though I haven't gone too long yet. Now, let's transition down to the south-central United States. Focusing on the southern plains as we look ahead to Sunday morning, we want to ensure we have the latest and best information. Sunday morning brings in more energy as cold air begins to settle in. According to recent forecasts, some moderate snowfall is anticipated to develop across Kansas, even in the Oklahoma and Texas panhandle. As we shift into Monday, light snow will likely make its way down to Oklahoma City and Norman. A wintry mix is expected to trend a bit heavier in northern Arkansas during the early morning hours of Tuesday next week. Light snow may roll across various areas of Missouri before moving out. Now, let's take a look at the Euro forecast for the rest of the eastern United States for next week. Unfortunately, this model only allows us to project 144 hours ahead. Nevertheless, I want to share the most up-to-date information. By Tuesday morning, we observe low pressure already passing through Alabama, which does not bode well for the I-95 corridor, especially for mid-Atlantic areas and points south. But notice this stripe of light to moderate snow breaking out across the Midwest. Snow may fall atop previously laid snow, particularly across the Ohio Valley. The areas marked in pink indicate a wintry mix affecting the favored cold air damming regions. Yes, the tail end of the low may produce heavy snowfall as cold air rushes into northern and western Kentucky, even in northwestern parts of Tennessee. While precipitation in Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio will be lighter, the system compels itself into more cold air, leading to an all-out winter storm late Tuesday within the Ohio Valley. We will see similar conditions across Kentucky, Ohio, various parts of West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and areas of western Maryland. A snowstorm will develop on Tuesday night in southern New England. This may mix into Long Island and New York City, where you are situated right on the edge. This graphic extends right up until midnight on Tuesday night, revealing an expansive winter storm in progress. Reviewing the previous run from last night reveals not many significant differences. It is, however, colder in the latest forecast, highlighting some wild conditions. We're consulting the GFS model, which presents a more aggressive outlook for the early stages of this system. It shows some winter weather ahead and, frankly, I believe this will justify the issuance of winter weather advisories across Kansas. There's a band of heavier snowfall expected on Monday afternoon across northern Missouri, with snow moving into Oklahoma and a wintry mix developing across central and northern Arkansas. We may even expect freezing rain depicted in pink and sleet noted in orange, leading up to a significant winter weather event across Arkansas and western Tennessee by Monday evening. The GFS shows a more assertive approach for our friends in the southern plains. Now let's check the eastern United States with the GFS model. The GFS indicates low pressure systems crossing the deep south. However, it suggests a more robust winter weather scenario. I will tell you that the Euro model has adjusted towards the GFS, moving from a suppressed pattern toward a more active system. The Euro has shifted to suggest more significant precipitation forecasts. We may also face icing, which is denoted by the pink areas, and heavy snow, which could initiate as snow in Washington, D.C. However, it indicates a stronger winter weather event on the way. I want to point out that the European model has leaned slightly towards the global forecast system. Initially, the European model suggested a more subdued system, but now it aligns better with a more robust forecast regarding precipitation. By robust, I mean increased amounts of precipitation. We have icing represented in pink, and this indicates heavy snowfall. We might even start out with snow in Washington, D.C. In Baltimore, while this is not a detailed forecast, the presence of a 994 millibar system off the mid-Atlantic and southern New England might bring substantial precipitation. Much-needed rain is expected down here in the southeast, but I don't anticipate a significant winter weather event for this region. We should keep an eye on Tennessee and Kentucky, as that is a notable winter storm shaping up. Some snow could fall on the backside as we approach Tuesday evening in the Cumberland Plateau and the mountains of Tennessee and North Carolina. There is certainly plenty to discuss today, my friends. If we take a look at the Euro Ensemble's latest data, you'll see a snow pattern developing, which is somewhat concerning. Unfortunately, we do not have the latest model, so we'll revert back to the operational run, and you will notice the signal for this winter storm we previously discussed, which is expected this weekend in the Midwest, might fade away. However, there's an indication of about 1 to 1.5 inches of snow across the Central Plains. There are even a few tenths of an inch of snow indicated for parts of Oklahoma. But then that moves away. Now, let's consider the broader picture for the eastern United States. There's a slight signal coming from the Euro ensemble for a bit of snow as we head into next week. The snow footprint for next week is positioned much further north than what the operational model suggests. However, it does show an increase in activity by Tuesday into Wednesday across the northeast, indicating several inches on average for that area. This suggests a heavier winter storm on the way for southern New England, Maine, and throughout New England. If we look at the ice signal, this pertains to the time frame from now until the weekend. But notice how it intensifies as we transition into the time frame of interest for next week. An indication of a few tenths of an inch of ice, even exceeding a 1/4 inch, appears in the colder regions. I didn't have this prepared, but I feel it's worth noting a potential ice signal in that area too. Despite this, it does not seem to align well with other models, like the GFS. Regardless, it seems we have a considerable amount of precipitation headed our way. The Euro ensemble depicts the total precipitation forecast from now through the next 10 days. Showing much-needed rain for those on the warmer side of this. To summarize, the upcoming weather pattern resembles a large question mark. The prominent blue area over the eastern United States indicates a trough bringing in cold air. It is indeed cold across much of the eastern United States, and while this pattern swings in, it will eventually swing out. You can also see this blue mass. This signifies our winter storm moving through the Midwest and other regions. Notice this area above? It represents the flow of cold air feeding into this low-pressure system. If we examine this closely, we can see the storm system itself, which may also introduce its own cold air. This cold air is contributing to this system's dynamics. Upon reviewing the projections for next week, the cold air continues to flow downwards. You'll see this extension of blue, denoting lower pressure. Thus, some sort of storm system is beginning to develop in this area. However, this cold air isn't pushing down enough to truly suppress the system. There's potential for a shift, but this cold airflow, combined with a significant trough over Canada, including a part of the polar vortex, is adding a nudge of lower pressure. This is our system for next week. Following that, it's uncertain what will happen. There are signals suggesting another trough developing in the 7 to 10-day range, as indicated by this extension. I want to watch this closely, as it might lead to a burst of cold air heading into next weekend. However, there's really no need to project too far out, as we have much immediate weather to assess. Looking at temperature comparisons against the average, the blues and greens indicate cooler temperatures. Warmer colours such as reds, oranges, and yellows indicate temperatures above average. We're beginning Saturday with below-average temperatures in the eastern United States due to the lingering air mass from a cold front that recently passed. Then we anticipate the next wave of Arctic air to move in. By Monday, we see this Arctic air filtering into the eastern United States. Initially, we thought next week would be quite warm across the southeast, but that does not appear to be the case anymore. There may be a warm day or two, but I wouldn't call it warm. By late next week, the chill seems likely to persist. There could potentially be another brief warm-up, followed by indications of another substantial cool-down. However, as I mentioned, this is 10 days ahead, and we shouldn't get lost in details just yet. Now, let's take a moment to review the current situation with the Madden-Julian Oscillation, MJO. Let's refresh our browser and see if we have any new updates. It seems there haven't been significant changes, so let's explain this simply. The MJO has phases 4, 5, and 6, which represent warm phases. Essentially, it indicates a warm-dominated pattern across the continental United States. We can still experience cold air shots. Phases 8, 1, and 2 are notably colder. Phase 7 is a warm phase for some areas, while appearing cold in others. Phase 3 has some similar characteristics, but phases 6, 5, and 4 are generally warmer, while phases 8, 1, and 2 are colder. Now, where are we currently? Today is the 27th, Thanksgiving Day, so technically we should find ourselves in Phase 7 now, having transitioned out of Phase 6. Everything we observe in the evolving pattern supports Phase 7 quite nicely, confirming what we're seeing in the MJO chart. However, achieving a strong downtrend in the southeast remains elusive. This aligns with Phase 7. As for the potential progression, you can see Phase 1 and 3 on December 1st and 3rd, hinting at a transition through Phase 7 before looping back. The loop back is becoming evident. Around mid-month, we anticipate reaching the favourable winter weather phase, Phase 8. If you're a fan of winter weather like me, you're hoping we maintain this pattern as we transition into Phase 8 and ride it through Phases 8, 1, and 2, historically favourable periods for winter weather in late December and January. There's a genuine possibility that this could happen. Nothing has changed on this front. Thus, I believe we will continue to witness model guidance grappling with the correct MJO phase. I am convinced we are approaching Phase 8, which suggests the potential for an active and eventful latter half of December. I've been discussing a unique December, and despite the fluctuations, that still stands. As we conclude November, with ongoing conditions leading into December's opening, the Midwest is currently facing its winter storm, although it remains in November. There are indeed notable changes ahead. That's all I have for you today. Thank you for tuning in. We'll have another video this evening. Wishing you all a wonderful Thanksgiving. I am genuinely grateful and appreciate you all immensely. I almost forgot to mention, but we do have a Bible devotion today. We're diving into 1 Chronicles chapter 16, verse 34. It's a poignant reminder. Give thanks to the Lord, for He is good. His faithful love endures forever. This ties in beautifully with the spirit of Thanksgiving, don't you think? In life's good times and challenging moments, it's vital to express gratitude to the Lord, who watches over us even when we may not pay attention to our own needs. Isn't that the truth? One thing I am eternally thankful for is our God, who understands our missteps and earthly distractions. He has charted a path for us and is constantly steering us toward His plan for our lives. He loves us deeply. I just want to conclude on this note. I am profoundly grateful for that. We all know that our earthly desires often lead us away from God's intention. That's why it's crucial to keep praying, asking Him to draw nearer, and doing our part to prepare for that connection. Thank you all once again. May God bless you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. We will chat again soon.